have you ever felt like everyone has a rule of how you should live? Between your parents, your pastor, your neighbor, and the police. So it's a lot. But the UNISA study guide, ILW 1501, which we are currently looking at, right? Introduction to Law, tells us that all of these things fall under what we call normative systems, right? But only one can put you in a prison cell, okay? So we will have to go through them together and see which one falls under legal, which one falls under just norms, personal and religious norms. All right, first we have laws that aren't norms, right? So first, we can look at gravity, right? If you decide to jump up, you are going to come down. If I take this pen and I throw it up, it will go down, right? This is gravity. You don't choose to follow gravity, right? It just happens. So these aren't norms because these aren't norms because they don't tell us how we should behave. But they just tell us how the world works, right? So let's look at moral norms. What are moral norms? We all know that. I mean, if you are of this skin color, you would know ukuthi ma ukuthi wena uhleli phansi and kunomuntu omdala ongenaso isitulo sokuhlala, kujwayelekile, kulindelekile ukuthi usukume wena kuhlala umuntu omdala, right? So in the context of moral or communal or personal norms, right? If you are a young person and there's an elder who wants to sit down and you are sitting, right? It is expected of you to stand up and allow the elder to sit down, right? That's just the norm, right? So the Bible says, honor your parents. So if you are rude to your mother and father, the police aren't going to knock on your door and arrest you, right? That is not your punishment. Your punishment will be guilt or shame, right? So those are moral norms. Then we have what we call legal norms. So these ones bind the whole community, right? Legal norms ilawa aphoqa wonke umuntu ukuthi ke awalandele, right? These are enforced by the state. So let's just say you want to buy land in a communal, you're gonna buy communal land. Kumele usuke uye enkosini, yabo, kubhalwe phansi. There's a whole process involved, right? So these are called legal norms because they are binding by the state. You can get arrested if that person decides that, look, even though you did pay. So the legal norm protects your rights, right? Because the consequences of not following legal norms is that you might get arrested, you might get fined, the state will be involved, right? The consequences are a bit harsher, right? Moral norms, the consequences of moral norms is shame, right, and guilt, okay? Let's take, for example, we have religious. So religious norms, they apply to only members of that specific faith, right? So who are the enforcers? Who enforces those things, right? It's the religious bodies, right? Okay. So for example, they say we're all fasting. We're not supposed to be eating meat on Friday, right? The religion forbids you to eat meat. Then we have what we call law, right? So these are the legal norms. So this one falls under the state, where the state enforces these laws, right? So what are the sanctions? The sanctions are fine, jail time, or you go to court, right? This applies to everyone who lives in that country.